Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Critical Content News. Today we're going to tackle the latest developments that have unfolded in Syria, where the long-running civil war has escalated into a volatile new phase. But first, let's take a step back and briefly explore how this conflict began. It began in March of 2011 as part of wider Arab Spring uprisings. Peaceful protests against President Bashar al-Assad's authoritarian government were met with brutal crackdowns. This sparked a nationwide revolt which escalated into a full-blown war. Over the years, the conflict has drawn in numerous actors, including rebel groups, foreign governments, and extremist organizations. Four main factions now control different parts of Syria. The Syrian government, led by al-Assad, remains the dominant force, supported by its allies Russia, Iran, and Hezbollah. The Syrian Democratic Forces, a Kurdish-led group backed by the United States, controls parts of the northeast. Rebel groups, including the powerful Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, dominate northwestern Syria, and finally, Turkish forces and their allied Syrian rebels hold sway in the country's north along the Turkish border. For much of the past 4 years, the conflict has been at a stalemate, with the Idlib province serving as a major rebel stronghold. But this week, the stalemate was shattered. Let's break down what has taken place. Last Wednesday, HTS launched a surprise attack in response to recent assaults by the Syrian government against rebel-held areas, which reportedly killed civilians, including children. By Wednesday evening, the rebels had seized at least 19 towns and villages in western Aleppo, pushing government forces out of strategic locations. By Friday, the fighting had reached Aleppo city itself, Syria's second largest city and a symbolic stronghold of government power, as it retook the city in 2016. The HTS fighters then stormed Aleppo after detonating car bombs and engaging government forces in small skirmishes at the city's outskirts. Government forces, citing the need to regroup, had to withdraw, effectively conceding Aleppo to the rebels. This marked a stunning reversal for President al-Assad, whose forces, along with Russian air support, had waged a brutal campaign to retake Aleppo 8 years ago. The rebels, though, did not stop there. On Sunday, HTS forces began pushing towards Hama, another strategically significant city. This advance prompted counterattacks by Syrian and Russian forces, who launched airstrikes on rebel-held areas in both Idlib and Aleppo. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights has reported that airstrikes hit camps for displaced people, killing at least 8 civilians. Meanwhile, the White Helmets, Syria's volunteer rescue organization, said 25 people, including 10 children, were killed in government and Russian airstrikes on Sunday alone. The UN has warned of the severe risks posed by renewed fighting, calling for an immediate political solution to prevent further suffering. President al-Assad, in his first remarks since the offensive, has vowed to defend Syrian territorial integrity and dismissed rebel gains as temporary. But analysts suggest that the speed and scale of the HTS advance poses a serious challenge to his control, especially as these forces now threaten supply lines to Damascus. The latest fighting underscores the fragile and volatile nature of this conflict after more than a decade of destruction and displacement. We will continue to monitor the situation closely and bring you updates as it unfolds, inshallah.